Good afternoon and welcome to Have a Chat. I'm Audrey Lynch with my beautiful co-host Veronique Arsenault. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for tuning in to Have a Chat, where it's a beautiful, gorgeous day here in Miramichi. Absolutely scorcher stunner of a day.
It is, and Judy couldn't be here today. She had some things that she needed to take care of, so but she'll be back next Monday.
Yeah, exactly.
It is. We've had like a really good string of hot weather.
We have. I'm not complaining.
It's a little too warm for me.
For you.
Just a little.
I step outside and go, Jamaica. I do.
I step
love it.
outside and go, I'm melting. I'm good around 20. Listen, I'm not complaining.
No,
I'm just saying
it was a rough spring.
I'm more comfortable around 25 degrees.
Yes, exactly. That's just it. I mean, it's perfect weather to be enjoying the Miramichi River
Yes.
that we live on.
Yes.
Beautiful, boats in the water
So
all
much to do.
weekend. Yes, there is. Speaking of, so much to do. We've got lots to tell you that's going on in Miramichi and the surrounding area. But first, we're going to start off with our quote of the day.
Yes.
And I'm up.
You
I
are.
have something really, really short and sweet I came across this morning, which was, being rich in life has nothing to do with money.
True. I mean,
Right?
money's good.
Money is good. Money pays
We're
the
not-
bills.
we're-
But
yeah.
being rich in life,
Yep.
having your health, having your family around
Yeah.
you, or your work family,
Yeah.
or whatever it may be, to me, those things are worth way more than money.
Agreed. And I think sometimes we get caught up with what we don't have versus really, truly appreciating what we actually have in our
That's right.
lives. And it's hard sometimes. I mean, when you're going through, a rough time, you think, oh my goodness, if I just had this, it would,
I know,
you
right?
know? But I think if you really sit down, and I had to do the exercise probably 2 or 3 years ago, where I forced myself every day for about 6 months to sit down and think, what was good today? Because I was going through a rough period at that point, and I couldn't find anything good, like
Right.
in my head. Initially, it was always negative. And so I sat down, I forced myself every day for about 6 months to sit down and say, okay, what was good today?
What was good?
Sometimes it was that I found a great parking spot.
I know, right? Simple pleasures.
And then I didn't,
is.
and
Didn't
then
have
it
to
was
walk
right
a
where I
quarter
wanted
mile.
it to, yeah, right where I wanted it to be. And then other days it was, I had a
Yeah.
fantastic day with my friends or my family or whatever. But I think, you're very right, is sometimes we don't realize how much we truly
How
have.
rich we
and how we
really
are.
are.
Yeah.
In light of, I just want to mention thoughts and prayers to anyone affected by any sudden tragedies in the past few weeks here in Miramichi,
Yeah, for
especially.
sure.
A few communities have been hit really hard with unexpected deaths, and I just want to say, like, in lieu of that, like your family and having your loved ones around you, and being thankful for just all the little things that you do have in life, because you just never know.
No, and actually, to mention that in Blackfield tonight there is the
there a
the
vigil?
vigil. Yeah,
That's
the
right.
vigil in the park. I think it's at 7 o'clock.
Oh, is
so.
it? Yeah, for the father and daughter.
Yeah.
That
Well,
had
for the
passed.
for the community.
community
Yeah, for the
itself.
community.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think
Exactly.
they need it, and we had talked about that last week, that we
Did you? Okay.
truly our hearts were with everyone affected and the communities in general, because we're all so close as
Well, that's
as,
just it.
as
I lost a
region.
classmate that I had actually gone to high school with, and we actually lived down the road from each other, so we traveled on the bus, and he had an unexpected accident as well, just something you could never foresee.
Yep.
And it's just shocking, and it just made me think to stop whining and complaining so much
Yep.
about the things we don't have.
Oh yeah, and we
Or,
get wrapped up
things-
in that
I
sometimes.
know.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
and sometimes it's okay to wallow for a little bit, because you got to deal with it too, right?
That's
you
right.
can't always
Yeah.
just
Yep.
say,
Cope.
"Oh, it's
You
fine."
have to, coping.
Yeah,
have
you got to
some
cope.
coping
You
skills
got to
there.
work your way through it. But
Yeah.
it's just sometimes realizing that there's some good stuff there.
There is.
Yeah.
So that was my thought-provoking
That's
thought
wonderful.
for today. What else is happening? So much.
Oh, so much.
We have, right here in Miramichi, we want to talk for sure, is Irish Fest. It's coming up this weekend.
Yeah.
Huge deal here in Miramichi.
And we had Patty on last week
Okay.
to talk about it. Actually, Patty sat
he?
in on our quick chat.
Oh, did he really?
Yes, he was.
Oh,
he
good.
was you for the day.
Oh.
Yeah, but you know what? We're pretty excited. There's so much going on. It kicks off
Thursday night?
evening,
Okay.
and there's the cruise on the Max Aiken Friday. There's so much going on Friday.
We get such an influx of tourists.
Yes,
Not
we do.
just the locals, but the tourists that come from all over to take part.
Well, I mean, half of our tickets, I would say, for this weekend were sold to people from outside the region.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, we're getting them
That's
from
exciting.
the States and from Ontario, from all over the place. So, you know what? There's so much going on this weekend, and it's the 35th year, so we'd love to see everybody, you know. And Raglan Road is playing Saturday night, but we have some amazing bands playing, you know, all weekend. And during the day, it's free of charge. Bring the family down, you know, join the walking parade.
Well, the view and everything happening right down on the river, it's just gorgeous if you want to partake in that at all.
Yeah.
You know,
oh,
everything's
gosh,
just right close, and it's such a great little community.
And to be honest, we're pretty close to being sold out.
Oh, wow. The dances?
Yeah.
Oh. Ooh.
Yeah. Patty.
I'll have to get some tickets
Yeah,
from
Patty.
somebody.
Imagine you know somebody. Patty and I were back and forth this morning, but yeah, we're pretty close.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, my land.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll have to do that today, then, won't I?
We'll
for
hook you
sure.
up.
The 95th exhibition starts this week too. Wednesday.
Yes. I believe it's Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes, that is back in town here in Miramichi. 95th.
I don't know how that happens.
No,
I don't know how that happens.
I know exactly. That's just it. It's not what I remember. My kids though still get just as excited.
Yeah.
Even though I look at it and go, oh, it's not as big and as whatever as it used to be in the rides and stuff like that. But for the kids that are little, it's still a big deal for them.
Well,
it's exciting.
and I think it's a lot of fun.
Something
and
different.
It kind of, you know, it continues that tradition of bringing farming, you know, and the exhibitions to a new generation.
And
yeah. So I mean, for that, I think it's
that's
amazing.
half the reason I would go is to see the animals. Believe it or not.
Well, yeah, and you know, it's funny, we were talking off air, but I remember when I was young, that was always the thing you did the week before you went back to school.
That's right. That's when it was.
Yeah. And
that's how you ended the summer.
That's exactly it. And I remember, you know, the lineups for Bracelet Day and the lineups, you know, for, anyway. And the
lineups to get on a ride.
Yeah. And I have such fond memories of the exhibition. So, you know, I'm glad that it's still around for this next generation and that you know, for people to continue to go. You know, so if you haven't been in a while, go.
Yeah, definitely go check it out because it's free admission now. You don't have to pay to get in. No, it's free admission to get in, so you can walk the grounds and look around and see what's there. Of course, it's the cotton candy and candy apple. I will say that was my favorite part. That was the once a year that you got to have a treat like that.
You definitely did, yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
You didn't get to see that on a normal basis. It was.
And I had a friend that always baked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Shona Doyle. She's Shona Adams now, but I remember that, and Shona. But and I talk to Shona all the time. But she used to bake, and she'd enter them into the
oh, that's right too.
The judging.
That's right.
Yes, and I remember
there's an art contest that goes on for drawing and painting and all of that, growing plants.
Yes,
the food.
I know, and
it's
like
a big deal.
Quilting and all that. So I remember, and like we were young, probably 15 maybe.
Right.
And I remember her entering like her pies and stuff. And I'm like, how do you even do that? But anyway, she was always good at it.
Right on. Perfect. Other things that are happening nationally, Trump went to visit England.
He did.
And how's that going? Because I really haven't tuned in. Other than seeing little Facebook pictures of the Queen looking out the window, and I'm like, what's that all about? And then now I'm realizing, I'm putting two and two together.
Well, there's been considerable protests since
Okay.
before his arrival.
Okay.
There was, you know, tens of thousands of people flooded the streets in London to protest. And one of the big controversies about the protest was there was a giant inflatable Trump, and it's round and he's got a diaper on. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And then so it's a baby. They call him Baby Trump.
Baby Trump.
Which you know,
juvenile.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So you know, it was interesting to see. There's been a lot of controversy about that.
So who did he go to visit? I know I'm like, who? He did go to see
the
Queen.
And the Prime Minister.
That was the real.
Yeah, and the Prime Minister. Yeah.
Okay.
So you know, a couple things from his visit. So you know, there's a lot of protocol involved with visiting the Queen.
Oh yes.
So you know, she always goes first. He walked in front of her. He didn't turn around to make sure that she was, you know, coming behind him or okay. And
did nobody brief him on the? Oh, probably.
Most likely.
Okay.
Probably.
We'll assume that is.
So, you know, that was kind of there's been a lot of Facebook memeing about that.
Okay.
You know, that she's 92 years old. She's met every living president and every president of the U.S. Like she's been, you know, there for I think 70 some odd years, right? So, and then he's the one that, you know, can't get it right. And then there was a press conference with the current prime minister.
Yes.
And so She's very capable. This new prime minister, she's leading the country.
Theresa May.
Yeah,
yes.
Theresa May. And so he went on and on and on and on and on about how this gentleman would have been an awesome prime minister.
Oh my goodness.
And he was a great he would have been the best prime minister.
Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he would have been fantastic and right in front of the current prime minister. And then he goes, "Oh, but this one's a terrific lady." So,
oh my land. You're kidding me.
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay. Now I know why I didn't tune into what was all going on.
People were saying, well, because the gentleman had flattered him previously in speeches and stuff like that. That's why he
felt he owed him a little
kissing
pat
up
on
a little
the back.
bit, and yeah. So yeah, it's been an interesting trip so far. But if we stick on the international theme for a second, like all of the soccer team from last weekend were rescued. So we did talk a little bit about it last week, but they were in the midst of the rescue at the time.
Okay. Yes.
So yeah, all 12 boys and their coach were rescued.
That's amazing. There was only one fatality, I believe, which was one of the divers that went in for them. Yeah, unfortunately. But that is just absolutely, like, I have goosebumps when I think about the fact that all of those boys and the rains. Actually, I was reading another little article about people praying for the rain, because it was supposed to rain every single day they were there. It was to torrential rain, and it did not rain, I believe, until the day.
Well, it was and it was quite amazing to see like the trajectory that they had to take, and like so it took 2 hours for the divers to get into them, and then 2 hours for the divers to get out. With each boy. And the boys were in this kind of contraption. It was like, and I hate to say it this way, but like a body bag.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Okay.
And that's how they took the boys out, one by one.
Oh, is it?
Right? With the air tanks and everything.
Okay, so they were in a bag that was being fed oxygen so that they could breathe and get them in and out.
Yeah.
Oh, my land.
So, like, I mean, if you had any claustrophobia whatsoever, it would be incredible. And then I saw on the news, since the boys are still in hospital. And
in quarantine, I believe.
Yeah, and they have to wear sunglasses because they were in total darkness for 2 weeks. So their eyes have to adjust to just even like light or daylight. So yeah, like there's so many things that they had to go through. Yeah, it's and things you don't think of. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so but their coach is being heralded as a hero as well, because he was 25 years old. He taught them how to meditate, how to stay calm, how to bond. Like he was there with them.
He was a former monk, I believe.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! Yeah. Absolutely beautiful, amazing story to hear. All the
so they're all home.
We're talking about soccer.
Yes.
The World Cup.
World Cup.
We have a winner.
I know.
France.
Yes.
Took home the cup.
Yes, after 2 weeks of games and
it was quite emotional. I watched the end of it and to see. Well, I always get a kick out of seeing grown men cry. I do. But
you have a little sadistic streak there, Audrey. Just a little one.
No. Tears of joy.
Yes, tears of joy. Yes, of course.
To see them become so emotional over, working so hard and striving and reaching their goal. Oh, my goodness. All of them. All of the teams did fantastic to get to that level. Yeah. Period.
Yeah.
Right?
They played Croatia.
Yes.
Which was quite amazing. So
exactly, fantastic. Mm-hmm. What else is happening?
Big announcement last Friday.
Oh, this one here.
Yeah, the Hospice Miramichi. Okay. So the province has kicked in. I believe it's $1.2 million. To hospice. Okay. So Gerard and Judy.
So what are we doing with that?
So Dr. Gerard and Judy, of course, our wonderful co-host, had donated land for hospice to be built on.
That's right.
So this is actually to help. They're launching a program here where they're going to train other hospices and other caregivers on the palliative program.
Okay.
So part of that is for that. And the other part of the money is for staff wages and things like that. So really, there's still going to be a huge push on for the community to help support this.
That's right.
To fundraise and
because there is more money needed.
Very much so. Very much so.
This is definitely a good jump start for sure.
Yeah, and it's going to be ongoing. They're gonna start construction soon.
Are they? Okay.
And then go from there. But yeah, it's fantastic announcement commitment from the province.
Yes, definitely.
And now it's
positive.
Yeah, it's up to us to do our part because Jordan and Judy have done theirs.
That's right.
And the province has done their part, and now it's up to the community to support it as well.
Yeah, exactly. Do we know what the exact location? Are we
on Gordon Road is my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. I know like our family land is down towards the end of the Gordon Road, so I'm going to assume it's in that area.
That's in that area.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great news as well. You wanted to mention the Premier.
Former Premier Ray Frenette. Mr. Frenette passed away on the weekend, and he was the Premier in 97, 98 for a very brief period of time right after Premier McKenna stepped down.
Oh, right. Okay.
And before Premier Camille Thériault took over. But he was an MLA from 1974 to 1998. So he was.
Oh, you're kidding.
Yeah, he was a
that was a nice big long stretch.
long-serving member of the Legislative Assembly.
Riding of Moncton East.
Correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to send out some condolences to his family and loved ones as well.
Well, he had a long public, career, so it was he gave a lot back to the province and to his constituents. So it's
exactly.
Definitely.
That's just it.
Yeah.
I also have this Was this an announcement?
No. So Senator David Adams Richards presented the 150 medals, so to 5 recipients on the weekend. Susan Butler was one of the recipients. Matilda Murdoch was another. And then 2 gentlemen that survived the Escuminac disaster. And then for some reason the 5th name is escaping me right at the moment. There were 5.
There was 5.
Yeah, so I know. Melanie Ross. Melanie Ross Breen actually is Melanie and Matilda and Susan for their contributions to music in the province.
Okay.
And then the 2 gentlemen from the Escuminac disaster who survived.
Exactly.
So it was a wonderful honor for them and great to see Matilda looking well.
Exactly. We want to bring up some summer. It's summertime. We're in the throes of summer here in Miramichi, and what everyone's doing now. Don't forget, we have a Facebook page where you can actually put your comments on the shows, and you can actually let us know what your thoughts are and what you're thinking, or if you have any questions for us, we'd love to hear from them, for sure. What you're up to this summer. Even send us some of your pics of how you're enjoying summer here, specifically in Miramichi. If you're on the river or you're
in
enjoying
in
the province of New Brunswick, that would be fantastic. We'd love to. My kids are actually quite. Are your kids doing anything for the summer? I've got Danae managed to score a part in Madagascar, Mr. Gopi's play that he's got coming up in the middle of August. So she runs to that twice a week. She signed up some from gymnastics, and my 16-year-old got his first job.
Oh, good for him.
So he has a part-time job at the Rod.
Good for him.
He's actually enjoying it so far. Well, he got his first paycheck, so that's
the part he's enjoying.
That's the part he's really, really enjoying. But we have a great show lined up for our guests today, or for our viewers, with some great guests. So don't go away. We'll be back with more Have a Chat after the break. And welcome back to Have a Chat. First up, we have a couple of great guests joining us, members of the MVHS Fly Fishing Club. We have Ashley Hallahan and we have Sydney Berrio. Hello.
Hey.
Welcome.
Thanks, guys.
We're excited. The contraption has me pretty interested. I'll just tell you that.
No, exactly. So you guys are here to talk to us about the MVHS Fly Fishing Club. But first, we want to know a little bit about who you guys are. So, Sydney, if you can let us know.
I grew up in a small town, Miramichi, in Bellefonte.
Oh, yes, in Bellefonte area, yes.
I got my passion from fishing from my father.
Okay.
He taught me when I was very young, and he also takes me hunting occasionally.
Oh, cool.
And how old are you?
I'm 15 years old.
You're 15.
Yes.
Okay. So, and Ashley?
So I come from the Blackville area, and I've been a teacher at Miramichi Valley for the past 16 years.
Okay.
And just recently got a transfer to the Blackville school, my home school.
Oh, neat.
With my 3 girls, they're going to come with me and just make things a little bit easier on the home life. And,
Right.
But we're not going to give up on these guys down at the fishing club. We've been doing it for 10 years, and it's a good extracurricular activity, and we got some big things planned for this year and next year, so we're going to follow through and
How did
finish
you
it.
get involved in fly fishing and wanting to have a club, I guess, at the school?
Well, honestly, like when I went to university, I picked education just for two big reasons, July and August.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty passionate about our river
Yeah.
and the fishing. Growing up young age on the water, that was what I did for an outdoor activity. And obviously having July and August off as a teacher per se gives me an opportunity to go and do what I kind of enjoy, being on the water. And did some guiding when I was in my early 20s. And,
Oh, cool.
and basically just been out and about doing this thing for a long time. And at the high school level, I used to do some varsity soccer, and that was fun in the beginning when there was no kids. But when kids came along, it takes a time to basically away from
right.
your family. So
Yeah.
I had to invent a new activity for myself. So I decided to start a fly fishing club. And myself and Jason Curtis, a local guide, and another guy named William Basco, the three of us just sat around. We said there's an opportunity to get more youth back on our water. And,
Yeah.
and
That's
10
right.
years ago, we started this thing. People thought we were a little bit foolish at the start, but it's been flourishing ever since, yeah.
That's amazing. So Sydney, as a girl, because you knew this question was going to come,
Yeah.
right? And I think it's awesome. So as a girl, were you a little nervous to kind of join the club?
Actually, I was, because I figured that it was just going to be an all-boys club.
Yeah.
And people would think it'd be kind of odd for a girl to be there. But once I got there, there were a few girls there, so I
Okay.
felt kind of better about that.
Good for you.
Yeah. So you didn't go there with a bunch of your girlfriends and say, let's go do that. You went all on your own?
Well, I went with my friend Becca.
Okay,
Yeah,
perfect.
but still.
Yes. Yep.
But no, and you're right. And I think, the more that we can do stuff like that isn't what we would traditionally think of as a girl activity, I think
Right.
I think it's fantastic, because then we can, we break down those barriers a little bit more. And good for you. Good for you for being a
Exactly.
strong
Thank you.
woman.
Yeah. So what is it that you've noticed about the club since joining it that is your biggest surprise that you didn't quite realize?
I didn't realize that we'd be going out so much.
Mm-hmm.
And we really came together as a group, and we became really good friends together.
Yeah, when you have something in common like that,
Yeah.
a passion for.
Oh, for sure. How big's the club, Ashley?
This year we got 9 club members.
Okay.
We got one international student. He came from Germany, and he picked VHS because he knew he had a fishing club. He had a passion for fishing
wow.
in Germany. So that's kind of a neat story.
Yeah.
About half of it is female, half male. And it varies from year to year, depending on kind of like the kid's interest.
Yeah.
I mean, most times we run anywhere from about 8 students to maybe 16 students.
Okay.
So it's, like I said, it changes from year to year. We got some, Sydney here is one of our rookies because she has her first year out, but she's enjoying it along with some of her friends. But I had a student graduate, a couple of them that been there for 4 years. So
Yeah.
they,
So what do you guys do, typically, how often do you meet, and what would a normal meeting look like?
So basically, we start in February, second semester of high school, and we go once a week. And that's a regular time that we go from 3:30 to like 5. And in February, we do, February, March is mostly fly time. So these students get to handle a vise, and we start with some bass flies, and then we switch over to salmon flies. And then, like I said, come on April, when the season opens on the 15th, we're going striped bass fishing because that's
Of course.
a hot area to fish, and we're doing that right up to May. And this year we had a fun event. It was our first one. It's called a hook and cook.
Okay.
So we had students out with fly rods, and a lot of these students haven't cast a fly rod before.
Right.
They've been just using spin cast rods. And we had some guides help out and volunteer for the day. And we had friends at Parks Landing, Cheryl and Dennis Hare,
Yeah.
give us access to their property. And basically we had deep fryers, and we
Wow.
landed bass, and we cleaned them and filleted them, and we cooked
Oh
them,
my
had fish and
land.
chips on the shore.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big deal, and we gave out a trophy for the biggest bass of the
Yeah.
day. And
That sounds like
it was a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
And then ultimately, the Miramichi is known for salmon.
Right.
That's what we made our mark back in the day, and we still want to keep that tradition alive. That's why we're a fly fishing club, and even though our hats switched over to a bass logo, just because it's popular with
Right.
the students, we still have the salmon at our heart. And we always go once a year in the summertime. We get some private water donated to us, and we take the students out for a salmon fishing trip.
Wow.
And this year we're actually going to share the trip with some students out of Washington Academy in East Machias, Maine.
Yeah.
So we're going to do an exchange with them, and they're going to come up fishing with us Canadians, and we're going to go down and hang out with them for a weekend in Maine.
That's
That
amazing.
sounds- I know. I want to join.
I know.
Like,
Yeah.
I
wanna
have
join
to
just
say,
for
I
all of
went,
that.
I went on my first fishing expedition
Oh,
last
that's
year
right.
with Rogers TV. Backwater Casting had me on the show, and it was the first time I had ever gone fishing in my entire life. But I had such a fantastic time, and I learned how to cast, and didn't learn any of this business. So
No, not the
way,
stuff that you're about
no,
to
you're
teach
you're
us.
way ahead of me here. But
Yeah.
I had a really fantastic time on that show. So if ever you get to go out that way, do it.
The thing about fishing is it's not the fish. I mean, it's the whole realm,
experience.
the river.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the experience, the camaraderie with your friends, and meeting new people, and you know, I mean, it's just getting out there, and it's like it's my release. You know, I mean, you got stressful jobs sometimes, and you got to have something to kind of unwind with, and this is how I unwind. You know what I mean? And having students get to experience some of these experiences is neat. You know what I mean? Having them go out there, and hopefully when they do graduate, they keep that tradition going forward, and still, like, you mean, come to the river and pass it on. That's what we got to do, because that's what happened to us.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right?
For
So-
me, my first instinct to go out there, and I was like, that it's either going to be too hot or too cold, and the flies are going to eat me alive, and that's all I can
You go
think
prepared
about.
though.
Yes, I'm assuming you do. So you're preparing something right now. Can you tell us a little bit about
Well,
what you're actually doing?
I'm doing a salmon fly.
A salmon fly,
Yeah,
okay.
and this is probably one of the more popular patterns for the summer season.
Okay.
It's called a green machine. So anyone that fishes around the river, they'll definitely have this one in their fly box.
Okay.
And we're using what's called a vise, and this is a number 6 hook, and it's tied to a certain pattern. So like it's like a recipe book.
Oh, is it really?
And the cool thing about salmon flies is usually their names. You know what I mean?
Okay. I'll
So,
get you to hold it up just a little bit better. There we go.
So this one here is the untrimmed version. So what happens is we're using what's called deer body. So we're using our animals, and we got it dyed a lime green color. 'Cause
Okay.
That's one
So
of my
that's
favorite.
real animal.
Yeah,
Real
hide.
animal.
Yeah, that's been
hide
preserved.
Fur. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why
And,
green?
lime green?
Why? Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems to be, you know what I mean, a pattern that works for me.
Okay.
People, you know what I mean, when our salmon come to our rivers from our ocean, they're not feeding. We know that. And instinct, a lot of times, is to take a fly, because when they were young, at a younger age, like a par, they were feeding in our rivers, in fresh water.
Okay.
So they always had the mechanics of moving up and grabbing something.
Okay.
But when they go to the ocean, that's where they're getting, obviously their size and their feed is to grow is at the
Right.
ocean level.
Right.
So when they come back into our fresh water in the June, July, August season, they're not feeding. They're going to get ready for spawning and mating and having more babies in the
Right.
river system.
Right.
So there's different theories. Some people think it's instinct that they come for a fly. Others think it's aggression, right? So all
Whatever.
kinds of patterns. Everyone
Whatever.
has their favorite fly.
Yes.
You know what I mean? To me, it's just the one you fish the most that you're probably going to get the luck on.
Right.
Right.
Is this
And-
one that you've created?
No, I can't
Or
take credit
no?
for this
Okay,
one.
I was like,
I mean,
so
this
who
is
came up with this pattern, the
No.
green machine?
Yeah, this one here actually was a fella from the Barnable area, Emerson Underhill. You know what I mean, local guy, and
Okay.
he, as far as I know, he's got kind of credited for the pattern itself, and
Okay.
like I said, it's a really popular fly amongst the anglers that fish the June, July season,
Okay.
and there's whole books of different patterns. We just got done having the Atlantic Salmon Fly International here a few weeks
Right.
ago,
Yeah.
and we had people from 18 different countries.
Isn't that
You
amazing?
did.
And it was wicked. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
and these
I
guys.
actually met a couple of gentlemen that were down for the entire week. They weren't just because
Yep.
when I was working at the Rod, I had bumped into them, and one fellow was from Scotland, and the other fellow was from Germany, if I'm not mistaken. And they were down for the whole week, doing a number of different things before that, and it was just fascinating.
And those
to
guys are
listen to
doing
them.
mostly like what are called feather wings.
Okay.
So like they're using different feathers and marrying them
Okay.
together, and some of them might not even be fishermen. It's more of an art form for them,
Right.
and they're putting them in frames and sharing them, and it was neat to have that type of talent in Miramichi, because these guys are really skilled. And I mean, myself, I'm just kind of tie for my own box or tie for some friends and give
So
them.
you just cut off all the fuzzy stuff.
Yeah, so we gave it a little bit of a haircut.
Okay.
And that trims it
Why?
down. Well, this fly is called a wet fly, so we want it to sink in the water.
Okay.
Okay.
So when we cast it out, this thing's going to go down underneath the surface, and we don't want a big, heavy body on it, because
Okay.
it'll float on the top of the water.
True.
And there's some patterns that you do want that to happen, called a dry fly pattern.
Okay.
And there's a lot of different flies and techniques and skills
Yeah, I
and
was like,
to fishing, but
lot to learn.
that's why we need a club like we got going on, like to teach these young people, you mean, what we've been taught in the past, and kind of pass on our knowledge to them, and like we did some bass flies with these guys, so we're tying up some weird and wacky patterns for striped bass, and you know, I mean, we went out for that hooked and cook event. Students were using their own flies to catch bass on their fly rods.
Wow.
So that's a pretty rewarding experience when you got success on your
Yeah.
own fly.
What's your favorite fly to tie, Sydney?
It would have to be a bug.
Okay. And what does that look like?
This
Kinda
is
like
the-
that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, now I get it. It'll come to me eventually. I'll get it all figured out. Okay.
I'm just going to get a piece of material fell in the ground here.
Oh yeah, no
Yeah.
problem.
There we go.
Not at all.
yeah.
So now, Ken, do you encourage them to create their own
Absolutely.
patterns as well?
That's the fun
Is
thing
that
about it. It's
okay?
like, let them kind of go wild on the vise. You know what I mean? Pick whatever color. If you want to make it pink, you want to make it school colors. Just let them have some fun with it and,
Right.
and make their own creations. And then we have some books too that basically show them, you know, what I mean, certain recipes that should be tied a certain way.
Okay.
So they can follow the recipe and put the certain materials in the certain places that they got to go in.
Because I would think there is actually some like research done on what catches what, or, you know what I mean, like actual.
Different fish species for sure. Like the trout species, it tends to be that way.
Okay.
So like they're making flies that mimic insects and
Right.
macrovertebrates, and
Okay.
they want them to imitate that particular insect or that particular fly because that's what they're going to be
they're
feeding on in
attracted-
nature.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
So definitely that. Then like even when we were doing our striper flies, you know, I mean, we were making them look like a smelt pattern. So they look like our ocean smelt because the bass are feeding on smelt when they're in the river.
Right. Okay.
So we are making them imitate things.
Right. Okay.
The salmon pattern, it's like I said, it's a little bit different because the theory is the salmon aren't being eating when they're in fresh water, and basically they're just taking it more so for aggression or just interest or instinct or what
Something
have
else. Yeah, something
Yeah.
to do.
you. Just something to do, pretty much, right?
And how long on average does it take, like for you, Sydney, how long does it take you to tie a fly?
Maybe about 15 minutes.
Okay. Wow.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
He seems pretty slick there.
I know, eh? I
The
know.
pressure's on underneath camera though. Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. You're doing pretty great at it.
So we'll have this one finished before
Isn't
we
that
finish.
amazing,
Before we
eh?
go to break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sitting over here. I'm like, you'd have to have some really good eyes.
Well, I know because I don't think I could see it,
I
but
don't even see the line. Yeah.
So that's the green machine.
okay.
Yeah.
Isn't
So-
that
That's
amazing?
crazy.
We'll put a couple coats of head cement on it, and we could be fishing with that this afternoon on some pool in the Miramichi.
What does the head
Yes,
cement
now,
do?
now
that-
we're going. Okay, so
All
we're
right,
gonna
so
do what?
it's just your glue,
Okay.
right?
Glue,
So
okay.
basically, it's the most important feature to the fly is the head of the fly,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
that's where everything kind of gets tied in together and
Right.
kind of
Yeah.
holds everything in place.
Okay.
So if this thing comes loose, then the whole fly kind
Well,
of
come on,
takes apart.
because I noticed I sew and I didn't see you tie any knots per se. You just did a lot of winding.
Well, this in disguise is a knot. It's called a
is
whip
that what that
finisher.
is?
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, it's going to be a device to tie a finishing knot.
Okay.
And some guys can actually do that with their hand, so they can mimic the motions of the tool with their hands to cut.
Alright.
And then there's other knots like called a half hitch if we want to do a half hitch on it. And basically, it's a knot to finish before you cut your thread off.
Okay.
And that's basically finishing the fly. Yeah.
Very cool.
Is
Yeah.
there anything that you would put on the fly that attracts the fish
Like
too?
a taste?
Like a taste or a
Some
smell or a
some
scent?
species they
Smelly
do.
jelly?
Yeah, like some species they may put like a scent attractor on it.
Okay.
But for the salmon, I haven't. But maybe someone's got an answer that does.
Yeah,
Maybe
really?
it works for them. Yeah.
Cool.
No, that's just it. That
And
didn't
I
take
just,
long at
like I
all.
said, it's a hobby more or less. It's another thing. I mean, in the wintertime, a lot of groups get together. Adults, they get tying groups, and they
Right.
just basically meet up and they tie flies together and drink coffee and chat. While they're doing it, they're whipping out some flies that they're going to use the following year. So it is
Yeah.
kind of like a hobby too. And when I was growing up, it was an elder named George Rutledge of the Renews, and basically I went to his kitchen once a week when I was 14 and sit down, and he taught me the kind of the ins and outs of how to tie, and then it was just taking that and using it. And like I said, I'm bringing in some guests with our club. Like
Right.
there's lots of local tiers that are excellent, skilled, and they come in and work with the students, or I try to work with them myself. And in the end, like I said, it's some of the kids keep on going with it.
Yeah. What a fantastic skill for you too to learn, Sydney. Like that's amazing to have that going forward in your life, because I can't imagine being that
No,
detailed.
exactly. That's
You
just
know?
it. And the other thing I keep thinking of is how many that you could potentially lose
Yeah.
that you don't actually get back.
True enough, eh?
Right? You would go through them. So there's always a need to tie more flies, correct?
Yeah.
Kind of thing, unfortunately, that part I would imagine.
And we got like parents now. The kids are tying flies for the parents. Or at the show, we had some people stop by our booth, and students were selling their flies to some of the people that were checking them out.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit more about the big Maine trip that's coming up. Like, how did you guys get in contact with this other group?
Well,
How
actually,
did that all happen?
it started way back in 2016, and being an educator, I got kind of flagged down by a guy from Scotland named David Ritchie, and he knew that I was kind of involved with the whole fly fishing through social media and kind of searching things around.
Are you
Miramichi.
all over Facebook?
Might be a little bit, yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, he contacted me because he had a group called the Atlantic Salmon Conservation Schools Network, and it's basically schools international that share the Atlantic salmon on both sides of the ocean, and we get together through online like Skype and sharing videos, and basically in 2019 we're going to host these guys from Scotland and Germany and France and U.S. and us, 5 different schools coming to Miramichi next summer to basically fish the Miramichi.
That's amazing.
So to prepare for
That's amazing.
we got Maine and ourselves doing a mini exchange, and we're doing that.
Unfortunately, we're
Get
out
ready.
of time. We're going to be going to break.
Very
but
cool.
We are excited about your group. If there's anybody who's interested, check them out on Facebook. I'm sure you're looking for more great members. We'll be back right after the break. Don't go away. And we're back with more Have a Chat. We were just chatting with a couple of great guests. Ashley and Sydney were here from Miramichi Valley High School Fly Fishing Club. Amazing. He tied a tie right there for us on camera while telling us about their group. It was fantastic. Up next, we have our next guest, Juliette Cabana. How are you?
Wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Welcome. Yeah, thank you for joining us today. Now, you're here from the Miramichi Regional Multicultural Association to talk to us. But first, we'd like to hear a little bit about yourself. Who are you?
Well, I am from the Miramichi. I grew up here. I have 3 wonderful kids. That's me in a nutshell.
Quick and sweet.
Yeah, exactly. So,
Juliette and I used to work together.
well, I was going to say, because I know you were part of that organization as well for a bit.
Yeah.
So she was working there at that time,
Correct.
and was she?
yeah, she's a settlement officer there.
Oh, right on.
Do
Okay.
you have a new title?
It's settlement and program officer.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about the association itself, in case there isn't anybody who knows exactly what this organization does.
Okay, well, we're primarily a settlement services office.
Okay.
As settlement officer, I help all newcomers, so people from abroad, but also people who are returning or from other places in Canada or the province.
Okay.
If you're not from the Miramichi, you're considered a newcomer, so I can
Okay.
help you. I'll help with things like finding a daycare, how to register the kids in school, how to find a family doctor,
Oh, okay.
any paperwork that needs to be done, things like that.
Right.
We also can set people up for language training. We organize monthly social events, and this is one of the greatest parts of my job. I have a lot of fun planning these events and attending them. The social events serve 2 purposes. First of all, to help all newcomers integrate into the community and to see what there is to do around the Miramichi. But most events are open to the entire community. And so the second purpose it serves is to educate community members about the cultures that surround us. A lot of people aren't aware, but there are over 63 cultures currently living on the Miramichi.
63.
Yeah.
63.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was
Different
amazed
ones.
when I learned that myself.
Yes.
And as program officer, I organize and give diversity workshops in schools or in workplaces. And I also assist employers with meeting their labor needs by giving them information about the different government programs.
So let's talk about that for a second. So when we think about unemployment, and we think about the Miramichi, and we think about the businesses that are here, one of the most common myths that we hear, and it's not just here, it's all over the place, is that newcomers are coming to take our jobs.
Yes. And I still get that question in a lot of the diversity workshops.
Yeah.
Young people are hearing it at home. I've even heard it myself at a family barbecue. And it is 100% wrong. It's false. It's a myth. Actually, 80% of Canada's immigrants are economic immigrants, which means they're people bringing specialized skills here and they're coming here to a job. A lot of people think all immigrants are refugees, which just isn't the case. There's a huge difference. Independent immigrants or economic immigrants, they choose to come here. Most often they're educated.
But also, if they're coming to a job, it's because that employer has had to prove that they couldn't hire a Canadian.
Yes.
That there were no candidates available for that position.
Absolutely. Every single employer who brings in a newcomer for a job has to prove to the provincial government and the federal government that they were unable to find a Canadian available or willing to do the job. Yeah. A lot of people aren't aware of that.
Yep.
We have a lot of people here that could do some jobs but choose not to. And a lot of newcomers are coming into, to minimum wage jobs, but they're happy to start a new life here with their families, and, that's okay. I don't know if you guys remember, last summer there were a few businesses that had to reduce their hours of operation. Some businesses were even thinking about closing simply because they could not find the people to do the work, to work the hours. So the government started the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project in 2017, and a lot of employers are getting on board, and they're better able to meet their labor needs, so they don't have to have reduced business hours.
Because it's typically the hospitality industry that struggles to fill those positions. And it could be housekeeping or
healthcare also. Healthcare is finding more and more challenges. Right now in New Brunswick we have over 65,000 people over the age of 75. That number will double in the next 15 years.
That's scary.
Yeah, and that's going to really tighten our resources. So we really, both governments recognize immigration as a possible solution to our demographic challenge. And it is a challenge. New Brunswick is the fastest aging province. Since 2014, the death rate in New Brunswick exceeded for the first time the birth rate or the number of people leaving the province versus the number of people coming into the province, and that number is this.
And you had talked earlier too about the fact that they're coming with a lot of skills, and particularly through the economic stream, they could be coming to start a business.
Absolutely, that would be the entrepreneurial stream.
Canadians.
Exactly. Like they could be that could be one of the things, and we have such fantastic examples of that here in our community. Like if we look, and I use this example all the time. If we look at Rumba, who is the president of the Multicultural Association, so Rumba Prashad, she came with her husband in the 80s. He was a doctor, and so he started employing people right away. We have always had a shortage of doctors, but he came as a doctor and he started employing people right away. And they rented office space, and then she bought the Fundy line 10 years ago now. And she employs. I think she's got two businesses, and I think between the two, she's got some 20 some odd employees. And they're Canadian. They're from Miramichi. They're from Moncton, and she pours hundreds of thousands of dollars back into our economy through taxes and labor and everything. She's a prime example of a fantastic offspin and benefit to having a newcomer arrive here in Miramichi.
I'd have to say, going back a little bit to when you were saying people that are qualified and willing, I have met through my business, I meet a number of people, and this couple have come here and bought a hotel as well, and they're trying to employ people as well, and they're struggling to find people willing to do the work. And she was asking me, how do you do it? How do you find the right people and get them to stay or willing to work and do that? And I'm like I totally get it. That younger generation, unfortunately, doesn't seem to. I personally myself, who my 16-year-old just got a job, and he's starting at the bottom. That's how that works. You climb that ladder. You know what I mean? Like I found him a place where there is a ladder to be climbed, kind of thing, or whatever, but to start off in the kitchen washing dishes or start off cleaning tables, that's the beginning. That you learn and learn the skills of oh my land, I'm lost for words today. It's a skill set as far as a work ethic.
Yes. And the work ethic has changed in Canada
I
and even
know.
around here. When we first started working, I mean, we would be happy for any hours. And I have 3
Yeah.
teenagers, so looking at them and you know how they approach work.
No, exactly.
It's
I mean, to
definitely
them,
a
they've
challenge.
stepped up one because doing chores at home, that doesn't pay enough.
Oh no.
Right? And having to listen to mom as the boss on top of that, not so much. But now he has someone else he has to answer
Yeah.
to, and he might not always be doing the things he likes to do, but he's going in and he's putting his 100% in because, you know,
For sure.
I just refuse to have any less.
So you talked a little bit about social events. So what do you have coming up that's in
Yeah.
the next little bit?
Well, our next social event, we're planning the Mayor's Welcome Barbecue for newcomers.
Oh.
That will be on August 18th, so
Okay.
save the date. It'll take place on Waterford Green between 1 and 4 in the afternoon. And we will have games and food. We're teaming up with some really great local partners. There'll be music, cultural performances, information exhibits on all of the different programs and services that are currently available in Miramichi, but most importantly, to celebrate the people and cultures that now call Miramichi home, especially those who have recently moved here from all around the world. I don't know if you guys have noticed that we always have more new faces on the Miramichi in the summer, a lot of tourists.
Yes.
But we have record numbers of newcomers arriving. Traditionally, we have about 10 to 12 newcomers arriving each year. Last year, and the huge increase is mainly due to the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Project. Last year, we had 79 people
Wow.
come to the Miramichi.
Wow.
And this year, we're only 6 months in, and we're already over 100.
That's amazing.
And
wow.
a large part of that is from the Atlantic Immigration Pilot. Just to give you an idea, for the AIPP, that's what we call the pilot project, in 16 months, the Miramichi region itself has seen 45 workers, so that's the principal applicants, and they've brought with them 42 family members. So that's children in the schools, and that's, you know,
That's
it's
right.
definitely growing our population, and which is what we
Yeah.
want.
And just to
Yeah.
give a little differentiation, so prior to the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, when the principal applicant came, their family stayed home, like home in their home country.
Yes.
So they were separated from their families
for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
For
Yeah.
years, and in some cases
until
5
they
years.
qualified and everything went through all the paperwork.
Yeah, and so they would come, and that's the problem with retention, right? So if you're coming and you can't bring your family, you don't really want to stay, right? So now with the
Yeah.
Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program, and the reason why they built that program the way they did was to bring those families together, so that when they settle here, they settle here.
Yeah.
You know, and that
They're more
means that they're
likely to
buying a
stay.
house. Or they're renting an apartment, and they're buying a car, and they're buying gas, and they're buying groceries, and so
Yeah.
all of that money is continuing to flow into our businesses in the region, which means
Right.
that we're benefiting from having these families come in.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize how closely immigration is tied to our economy, both in the region, in the province, and in Canada.
No, I think a lot of people too, when with everything else that's going on with the refugees and everything else, that some people don't realize. Like you're talking about these people coming and bringing in money, but some people are under the impression the government's paying them to come here, or helping them financially for their first couple of years.
The key thing that
So
people
what is
need
it?
to remember
Okay.
are that when people come in through the AIPP, this program it's employer driven. It's not
Okay.
government driven.
Okay.
So that means the employers, your neighbors on the Miramichi, are selecting, interviewing, and bringing them here, not the government.
Right.
And these people have 3 requirements. They must have a basic level of English or French. So Immigration Canada uses what's called the Canadian language benchmarks. So any newcomers coming in have to have at least a level 4, which
Okay.
is basic. They have to have a minimum of a high school diploma, and they have to have experience in the field that they're coming.
Right.
Okay, so.
But
Yeah, it's
and
gonna
we'll
be
talk about the refugees for a second.
Yeah.
So with the refugees, typically, and especially here in Miramichi, they've been sponsored by private groups.
That's right.
So, and what that means is when the group takes on the responsibility to bring in a family of refugee claimants, they have to have enough money to support them for a year. And so that doesn't come from the government. That comes
No,
from the private
exactly.
citizens. And in that year, they learn English, they get work skills, and then they get a job.
Exactly.
And
Miramichi
then they're on their own.
Right.
So they don't like. There's
Yeah.
no support there. You know,
No,
as far
that's
as like.
that's what I'm saying is there's such a huge misconception.
Yeah.
There
What people
is.
understand of exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Right. And this organization compared to like the refugees, how it's all
Yeah,
you know,
they're
like, get
separate.
your facts straight.
Yeah, and they're very separate. And there are government-sponsored refugees for sure. That is also a part of.
But
part
there
of
are
that
none in
program.
Miramichi.
No, there are none in
All of
Miramichi.
Miramichi's refugee families were privately sponsored.
Yeah.
There were a total of 4 that have come. One family did leave for a year, and it's a huge success. They came back. They
loved it
tried
so
a
much.
different place in
Place,
Canada.
okay.
Yeah, and you know, I've been saying it for years. I'm from the Miramichi, so I'm kind of biased, but
Yeah.
one of our best resources are the people on the Miramichi. You'll never
I
find a better
know.
place or kinder people.
No,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the kids are in school, you know, and so we need more teachers, we need more resources. Again, they're buying gas, they're buying cars, they're
Yeah.
renting houses, all that stuff. So, you know, the money is flowing back into the economy here, and that makes such a difference
Yeah.
for our region, right?
Oh, it
because
does,
in the last
definitely.
census, we lost some more of our population here in the Miramichi region, right? And
Yeah.
so we have to build it back up some way.
Yeah, and talking about schools, so if you look at the province of New Brunswick in the last 15 years, the school population from kindergarten to grade 12 has dropped by 20%. That means for every 5 schools we had 15 years ago, we only need 4 of them now. And that's province-wide, but if you look at the Miramichi region, the numbers are much higher. In April, we had David Campbell. He was formerly the economist for the province, and he studied and came up with a report with the New Brunswick Multicultural Council's New Conversations Tour. And according to David's studies, or like what he found in his report, in the Anglophone North School District, population has decreased by 34% in the last 15 years. And the Francophone Nord-Est, so I believe that's like the Niguac and all up the peninsula, they've dropped by 36%. So we really, I joke about it, but short of going home and having lots of babies, even then in 15 years we're going to
I
have
was
the
like, where's
crunch.
she going with
You
all
know,
that?
we need to, we really need to open our minds and be prepared to welcome newcomers and immigrants. Otherwise, when it's time for us to retire, who will be running the hospitals and the schools and the police stations and
exactly.
all of our social,
Exactly.
yeah.
Who'll be
That's
paying
just
for it?
No, exactly. That's just it. I did my part. I had 4. I had 4.
I have fur children, that's all I got.
It's interesting that you say who'll be paying for it, because another little known fact, right now on our labor market, for every person who's retired, we have 4 people working in the province. That's an average, okay?
Okay.
If we do nothing at all and just leave things as they are, in 15 years, for every person who's retired, we're going to have 1 person on the labor market to carry the entire tax base. We really
That's
need
a scary note to end this show on, I'm afraid.
I just want to
Keep
make sure
that in
people are aware of
mind.
the
Definitely.
imperative, right? It's a
Yeah,
demographic
exactly.
imperative.
That's just it. So it's something that we need, and to help our city grow, help any city grow, and
province.
flourish and do well.
Absolutely. yeah.
Thank you so much, Juliet, for joining us
Oh, thanks
today
for
and
having
filling
me. It
us
was a
all
pleasure.
in. We'll have you back when anything else is new is going on. Keep us updated with the association, and keep up the great work.
Well, thank you.
We just love it. Now you have a Facebook page and everything?
Yes, like
Okay.
our Facebook page, Miramichi Regional Multicultural Association.
And that's where we can find out
Yes.
everything and anything
And
that's
we also
going on?
have a web page, mrma.ca.
Okay, where we can get in touch with you and get involved if we wish.
Yes, we're always
Okay.
looking for new members, volunteers.
Great. Thank you so much again for joining us, and thank you for watching. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.